Good evening. I want to greet everyone that follows and who subscribed to this channel, and tell you to say today, if you are busy, don't watch. Wait until you find time, because I want to speak, and when I speak, I want to make sure what I speak, it is heard by everyone who is a seeker of truth and everyone who wants to be saved from any predicament of not listening from God's warning. And when you listen, share this video. And when you share this video, make sure that this video goes to Hakainde Hichilema, because in the last night vision, I saw trouble. I saw a funeral gathering. I saw people gathering at a magistrate court near the flyover bridge there after the post office in Lusaka. There were a multitude whose funeral I was shown in the resemblance of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, who cannot be Dr. Kenneth Kaunda because Dr. Kenneth Kaunda has already died, and his prophecy of his death has been fulfilled. And the only leadership that is directed to this message is the leadership of Hakainde Hichilema. So when I say God revealed to me this, my God has been so faithful. And I'm not of vengeance. I have no hatred to anyone. But I stand to testify that God is now in the ring to meet those that are opposed to visions and dreams. Because there are many false prophets that have been hired against this ministry. I want to say the time when I was arrested and accused of schizophrenia, I was listening to the radios here in South Africa. They were talking about schizophrenia, mental illness. Also in Zambia, the radios in Zambia, they were talking about the same, to an extent of saying, if you see someone posting too much on Facebook, talking about God this, God this, God this, you should report that person to relevant authority, because that person is sick of the disease called bipolar or schizophrenia. He needs medical attention. If you hear someone singing too much gospel, what, report that person. I was shocked, because they knew that I was on a run, I was hiding, and they wanted to make sure that what they failed to do when I was at Kosimampuru for 4 months and at Viscopis Mental Hospital, where they made sure that I must not survive, they failed. They wanted now to make sure they use their second chance. But God stood, because this is what I want to say today. No one was going to say it. And the stage is now open, because here are people who are actually gathered and paid in the similar manner of those that were talking in the radios, that people who are suffering from bipolar. You find that they talk, they want to pray too much, they want to do this and that. And that program on that particular day, no one commented. They all kept quiet. They were exposed that they are lying. Today on the social media, there are people who are talking about that God does not exist. They talk in condemnation of the gospel, in condemnation of Jesus Christ, to say, no, belief is dangerous. We should be free from belief. Anything that has to do to belief, you don't need to believe in order to know the truth. You just need to use your mind to know the truth. You don't need to believe in Jesus Christ or what is called God or the Bible. They discredit everything, including God the Creator. Why? Because when I say God spoke to me in a vision, they want to allude this as a belief that has no basis to prove. I want to put it very clearly that my visions and dreams are there to be tested. Those who claim that there is no God and God cannot speak in visions and dreams, I want you to listen properly. I'll give you enough time to listen. I'll go step by step, and I may not finish 1,000 evidences of proof that God spoke to me, and whatever is happening and what is going to happen to the life of Hakainde Hichilema, you are going to prove that there is God in heaven. I want to challenge Hakainde Hichilema as I challenged him in the 12 volumes of the open letter, Shocking Truth open letter to him, to say it is better if you want to prove that you are going to finish all the 2 terms in good health, then arrest me so that you give me food and everything. I just wait where I cannot even have a phone to comment on social media or to say anything on social media, so that when that happens, that's when I'll be vindicated. Because when I'm free, someone else is going to make the same allegation they told Michael Sat, to say, you remember the one who prophesied in 2008 that when you win the election, they'll kill you. Look, you have won in 2011 and in 2012 January. This assassination attempt, it is Evangelist Masuka who arranged this. And this is the reason why I left Zambia and came and sought asylum. Today I'm speaking on social media because I want to reach Hakainde Hichilema. I don't want to reach anyone because he's the only sitting president, no former president. And he's the only one that received warning before he became president. He's the only one I spoke by him calling me in 2008. I talked to him 3 times. 2018, it's me who requested him to call. I called him, I asked him to call back, and he called me back. And I reminded him about Christian Nation Declaration and the danger of partnership with the Vatican, because it was revealed to me as I foretold it to Anderson Mazoka, the first founding president of UPND. I want to say the vision about the open palm was given to me in 1997. And the UPND was formed officially, where Hakainde Hichilema was elected as the UPND, no, not Hakainde Hichilema, Anderson Mazoka was elected as the first UPND president in 1998, a year later. And I reviewed this to Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. Of course, he's late. He cannot prove it. But the book that I wrote here, that testimony is there. Because this book was written in 2001 before the death of any president. in Zambia. All the 6 presidents have died after reading this book. So now, the death of Hakainde, that has been reminded, that God reminded me that there is a trouble in Zambian leadership. I sold my carrier that I made like a canopy for the back when I'm selling vegetables. I was given a 200 rand deposit from 600 giveaway price because I needed that for food. I had to spare a 50 rand for me to buy the data that I'm going to use to make sure that this message goes to Hakainde Hichilema as a warning. And when I'm supposed to buy a loaf of bread for my family, because I have a burden of the Lord, I had to spend the little from nothing to do what? To give this message. So that's the reason why I've appealed to the listeners to say, if you are listening, know for sure that what I'm speaking, get your pen, write down every point, get that paper and fold it nicely in an envelope. Put it where no child can reach it, so that we are counting from today until after elections, until Hakainde Hichilema finishes his 2nd term. If God has not spoken to me, Hakainde Hichilema will be very in good health and surviving and not dead. But if God has spoken to me, Hakainde Hichilema won't go through this period to 2031. Never. I want to prove how God has been, the pattern of how God has been speaking to me, which gives me the confidence that I'm not against Hakainde Hichilema. I'm actually here to save Hakainde Hichilema from this untimely death. When God is warning someone, He wants someone to acknowledge His power, then He retrieves the warning, the sentence of death. We have Hezekiah the king. Isaiah the prophet entered his palace and says, set your house in order, or else you shall not live. When Hezekiah moved out of the palace, Isaiah moved out the prophet from Hezekiah's palace, or bedroom rather, Hezekiah the king turned and prayed to God. He looked at the wall and prayed, cried unto God, reminded God of the good things that He did. Within 5 minutes, God answered that prayer. And Isaiah returned and he changed his statement and says, God has heard your prayer. And what did King Hezekiah said? He says, I need a sign for me to prove that God has heard my prayer. Then Isaiah the prophet asked the king to say, what is the sign that you need? Anything that you request from God, it shall be given you. I want to say that today I'm saying anything that Hakainde Hichilema would ask to prove that God has given, that God has spoken to me, that there is death, 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 death in his leadership, God shall do it. You see, many people, they think that I'm threatening I'm not threatening. Why should I threaten Hakainde Hichilema? I talked to Hakainde Hichilema before he became president, and he knows that. Out of love, the 12 volumes books that I've written to Hakainde Hichilema, which I gave to the former Vice President Devas Mumba, before they were actually finally written to its fullest to be edited, whereas there were still 6 volumes. But I did it out of love. So today, I want to read, listen to me. I want to read the introduction, the foreword of this book, 1000 Evidences of the Fulfilled Prophecies and Declaration. This is a shocking truth, open letter to President Hakainde Hichilema. Those who have been following me for a long time, I'm not showing this book for the first time. So, when I'm going to read from this book, I want to prove to every listener, if you're a critic, get your pen and write down every statement that you deem to be false and post it on my comments and tell me to say, on this statement you lied, on this statement you lied, on this statement you lied, on this statement you lied. This book, I wrote it 2022. I finally published it. That was, 19 December 2022. And I sent it. I sent these 12 books to Hakainde Hichilema through the embassy. Protocols broken in order for me to save life. And anyone who find case with me, you meet my God. Because what I'm doing, I'm not happy. I didn't call myself. I didn't appoint myself. But the one who created heaven and earth, the one who turned himself into flesh, and he was born by a woman and lived here on earth. The last days of his ministry, 3.5 years, he was crucified on the cross. And he died on the 14th day of the month. And the 15th day was in the grave, like the last Sabbath that we had yesterday, the Sabbath. On today, before the evening, let me say yesterday, because this evening is the second day of the week. Yesterday, the first day of the week, he resurrected. I'm talking of Jesus Christ, who observed the Sabbath based on a lunar calendar. He's the one who is going to stand and testify that he appointed me to speak and to warn and to break protocols. And if you feel in your humanity that my breaking of protocols to warn leaders, as one of the immigration officer at Lubombo, when I was crossing to, attempting to cross to Mozambique, he says, why are you troubled with the Zambian government? I said, I warned them about their untimely political death. He says, you don't know that it's a crime? I said, yeah, it's a crime to human being, but not to God. Because when God sends you, he warns you out of love to say, don't use this road because there is death. So is that a crime? So I should look at a person going to die. If I tell him to say, you are going to die, if you take this road, as I wrote in this book that I just want to start reading, I said to Chiluba, Proverbs 14 verse 12, there is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are ways of death. That's a warning. It's not sentencing someone to death. A person has a choice to make when God wants to choose life by obedience. The only obedience that Hakainde Hichilema was programmed by God was for him to protect the ministry. And that's the statement in each and every volume that I've written to Hakainde Hichilema. Those are the statements that I gave Hakainde Hichilema. And I want to read this book before I can read the 1,000 evidences on volume 5 of the open letter to Hakainde Hichilema. Let me read the warning that I gave to Chiluba. This was a friendly warning. This warning applies to President Kaunda, President Chiluba, President Mwanawasa, or the President Lupia Banda. From Lupia Banda, we have Michael Sata, we have Lungu, who is now in a mortuary, but not buried, in the fulfillment of prophecy. Written clear, there will be no burial. I'll look at that later again. If those who missed the other video, I mentioned everything that is happening. So listen. Page 70 of the rescue operation. Listen carefully because I won't be repeating myself too much because I still have a long way to read. On paragraph 3, I said, did President Chiluba know that what he really meant or the consequences of partnership with the Vatican? That was the question that I asked. Did he really know or knew the consequences of the partnership with the Vatican? I said, you are now partners with the Catholic Church, but today your partner, Roman Catholic in leadership, says no third term. But by insisting to go for the third term, you have turned against your most dangerous criminal Catholic. I said, your most dangerous criminal Catholic. This statement applies to Bill 7. When Catholic was saying no Bill 7, Hakainde Hichilema went ahead and implied the Bill 7. In whom you pledged to receive guidelines and solution to problems. Hakainde Hichilema pledged to say, I will receive guidelines from the Vatican Pope Francis. Exactly this statement. What is it that hinders you to seek guidelines on the issue of third term? What hindered Hakainde Hichilema to seek guidelines on the issue of Bill 7, which in turn was exactly what he opposed as Bill 10 under Lungu? Remember President Lincoln of US, he was declared a heretic. So watch out. Chiluba was declared a thief. Lincoln was declared a heretic because he did not do what? Let's listen. It is the major purpose of this book to rescue from the deadly union, or else President Lincoln's fate shall befall you untimely. It is my prayer that whosoever has business with the Catholic Church over political mileage should know that when you offer a deaf ear to its guidelines, you risk being killed. Let me repeat this. that whosoever has business with the Catholic Church over political mileage should know that when you offer a deaf ear to its guidelines, you risk being killed. The mystery of all the death of the 6th president of Zambia lies in this statement. And even when I've reviewed this, it cannot stop to kill you, Hakainde Hichilema. The last paragraph, I said, only those who die a precious death can have a chance to resurrect at the second coming of Jesus Christ. Praise ye the Lord. Blessed is the man that feareth the Lord, that delighteth greatly in his commandment. That is Psalms 112 verse 1. President Lincoln was a God-fearing. He did not accept to be used by the church to establish Papa supremacy. I'm one person who believes that God shall award those that have died defending his commandment. This appeal is a honest appeal to Hakainde Hichilema. As I've received a vision this last night, and this vision appeals to Hakainde Hichilema, the gathering of people and the funeral and the court battles, which I saw in a vision that Hakainde Hichilema, you are Mr. Terror everywhere. The same pattern that you have subjected the PF's leadership as you want to crush anything that is preparing to get hold of your office against God's warning. Let me go now to the open letter that I wrote to you, Volume 5.